Part A, brief. Statement of adjustment and completion of the sale. Statement of adjustment. Statement of adjustment provides the vendor, means seller, and the buyer, means purchaser, with detailed financial information of the sale transaction on completion day. So basically it gives you the detailed information about the deal. Okay, so the completion day, vendor is entitled to the net proceeds of the sale. So on the completion day, when the deal completes, so the seller gets the money. Purchaser is usually entitled to the transfer of title, and the buyer will get its title. So basically title is transferred from the seller to the buyer. For example, Mr. Brad sells the homes to Mr. Gill, so Mr. Gill's title transferred to the Mr. Brad. Possession day. So possession day is noon time. So basically you get the keys at noon. Purchaser always pays for possession day when adjustment taxes. So buyer pays that for that day. For example, completion is on 30th March and possession is on March 31st. So buyer pays for that day too. So per day. Okay. So basically buyers pays in their deal. So basically, so sometimes the possession after 1 week, so buyer pays for 1 week.
Yeah.
Okay. So normally whenever you make a deal, try your best to have a possession the next day or 1 or 2 days after. So the reason is sometimes you don't. So the seller doesn't give you key because the seller doesn't get a check sometime the same day, right? And the Asian community think so even though they have signed, until they receive the money, why we should give the check a key? So but if it's the next day, so the deal is already completed, right? And they got paid same day or next day and before noon, so at least you get the keys. Okay. So next, undertakings. Undertaking, this is solemn promise made by a lawyer. When a lawyer gives an undertaking, the public can be reasonably sure. So I have solemn promise. So I am reasonably sure that the promise will be kept because the lawyer has the money. Once you go and sign with a lawyer, basically you are sure, you are rest assured that you will get the money, right? Because he takes this one under. Basically, lawyer is a
under oath.
Yeah, is a stakeholder, right? The remedies, means solutions against a lawyer for breaking an undertaking are very severe, right? You remember there was a big case happened where the lawyer and the realtor and 3 people got together and scammed millions of dollars, right? What happened then? So they end up in a jail, right? It's pretty severe. So information on a transaction. So what do you find on the name of the seller, vendor, name of the buyer, purchaser, effective date of adjustment, the legal description of the property. So basically it is a PID number, property identification number, strata lot, the purchase price, the cash deposited by the purchaser with the offer. Sometimes there is a deposit, right? Deposit goes to the trust account, goes into the trust account.
This vendor is basically a seller, right? The guy who sells.
Yeah. So any mortgage agreement for sale, for example, to be arranged by the purchaser. Next, the party responsible for the expense or preparation and registration of the documentation required to complete the transaction. The standard agreement will require the purchaser to prepare and pay for the cost of conveyance documents and the vendor to pay for the cost of clearing title. Basically both parties has a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Seller has his own lawyer and the buyer has his own lawyer. And so normally I think nowadays the seller pays almost $1,000 and the buyer, seller pays almost $600 to $700 and the buyer's lawyer you pay close to $1,000 nowadays.
It's not like $200 or $300 without selling it?
Not anymore.
No, if you go to notary public, it's cheaper.
Still not that cheap.
David's loaf and $500.
Yeah,
David's loaf.
yeah, it's almost the same now. So practically from question point of view, you pay for both party pays, buyer and seller. Data on adjustment of taxes, interest, water rates, rentals, and other items. So basically, buyer pays for the taxes, right? Depending upon when they buy, right? Interest, water, sometimes there are water bills, right? But whenever they buy, rentals, deposits.
So if somebody has a water meter in their house, how will they do it then?
Oh,
City Hall, they take the reading.
Yeah, they take the reading. They do the adjust, approximate adjustment after. And next is procedures in the conveyance of a transaction. Start. So contact a conveyance lawyer and give him a copy of the contract purchaser and sales and any amendment. So when you make a deal, being a realtor, what happened now? So you give the copy to your office and to the buyer. So the office send the copy to the lawyer, whomsoever the buyer, think he wants to have it. So being a realtor, you can suggest them 3 names, right? So whichever they like it, so they choose it, and you let your office know, right? So
the
basically
will bring a copy to the office, and office send a copy to the.
Yeah, some realtors, they think themselves, so they just send a copy themselves because it's your business, right? So basically, you start the process. So 3 days before completion, the purchaser will sign the mortgage document and conveyance will have prepared, and at a point pay any balance due on the purchaser's fund. The conveyance will give the purchaser statement of adjustment. So basically, the buyer will pay the difference of the amount. So sometime you have a deposit given to the office $25,000 now, but you're paying a 10% down, and the difference is $15,000 plus the taxes. So you take a check with you and give to your lawyer. So after which the purchaser's conveyance will forward a transfer of estate in fee simple. Once they receive, so the purchaser's conveyance will forward a transfer of estate in fee simple that she will have previously prepared to the vendor's conveyance. So they send the document to the seller's lawyer. So a vendor statement of adjustment will be sent as well. So basically, fee simple means no qualification required to inherit the property. Means no qualification required to inherit. Next is a transfer, and the statement would be executed by the vendor. So basically, so then the vendor's gonna sign the document, right? Registration of a transfer in fee simple will be applied to the land title office by the conveyance. Basically, normally is done online, so the lawyer does it online nowadays, right? The title will be searched one final time, so the lawyer will do the final search on the title, right? One will to make sure there is nothing registered against the property, no lien, no judgment, right? So he's going to check. So registration take place, and the new title of the ownership will be issued by the land title office. So at this time, any applicable property taxes will be paid. So highlight taxes paid. The vendor receive the cash, so vendor will receive the check. Cash doesn't mean hard cash, right? So commission and taxes are paid. So basically, the commission tax is paid, and the deal is done. So next is the property tax adjustment.
So basically, vendor, the seller, he receives the check.
Yes. Yeah.
From the lawyer, and then he has to take the check to the bank to give it to them for clearing the mortgage, or the lawyer sends it?
No. It's all both parties